Welcome everyone to the Pandemic Electronic Benefits Transfer Community Training. We are providing this to our community partners, and we want to thank everyone for joining us today and for your role that you will be playing in helping us to administer this program in our community. If there continue to be problems with the translation, please just let us know. From this point forward, we will be referring to the Pandemic Electronic Benefits Transfer Program simply as P-EBT. P-EBT is the brand new benefit that is intended to reimburse households for the meals that were lost as a result of school closures from March through May of this year. I want to thank the Colorado Department of Education for their partnership in administering this program, as well as Hunger Free Colorado for their assistance in providing support and hosting this community training alongside us. I also want to thank all of our partners in the community who are assisting in order to ensure the success of this program. And I want to thank you for being here with us today. There are a couple of things that I want to point out. We will be recording this session, and the slides will be posted and made very much available to you all afterward. Questions can be added to the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. What's going to happen is that we anticipate we will get a very large number of repeat questions, so we will be sorting them, and then at the end we will address as many of them as we possibly can. Please listen closely, as your exact wording for your question may not be read aloud, but the question itself may in fact be answered. Any additional questions that we receive in the coming days, we will certainly make available to everyone as well. The Pandemic EBT program is not yet launched. We do have an update that we anticipate at this time we will be able to start issuing benefits roughly July 15th. So the next slide for the agenda will go over what we anticipate you will be able to get from today's training. So first, we will do an overall introduction to what P-EBT is. We will walk through the application that it will be made available online. And again, this application is not yet ready to be launched. It is still in the development and build stage. We anticipate that that will be ready within the next 2 weeks. We will go over the various roles of the school districts and schools, community partners, outreach partners for application assistance, and county offices. We will also go over the outreach toolkit that has been developed, as well as a marketing review. And then we will do questions and answers at the end. With that, I will turn it over to Max Young, who manages our SNAP outreach and has been gracious enough to also oversee much of the Pandemic EBT program.
Thank you so much, Carla. Hi, everyone. My name is Max, and I work with CDHS. And I will have the opportunity to go over P-EBT with you today. So we'll spend the next few slides going over what P-EBT is, how people are eligible, how they get their benefits, and then how they use them. And then I'll also walk you through the application draft itself. Right now, one of the things I wanted to mention is some of this information is still being finalized. We're very excited to be able to offer this information to our community partners who have joined this call, but also want you to know that we are still working to finalize some of the details. So things that you see here might shift slightly, but we're, in the spirit of good communication, are trying to get as much out there as possible. So thank you all for joining and going on this journey with us. So how did P-EBT even become a thing? It actually came down through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was authorized by USDA, or the Department of Agriculture. States were allowed the opportunity to provide a plan to USDA and have that plan approved to be able to issue Pandemic EBT, or what we'll refer to as P-EBT benefits for short. And as Carla mentioned, these benefits are really meant to provide food benefits to families who have kids that are eligible for free and reduced price school meals. And while CDHS is the organization or the department that is implementing P-EBT for our community, and that is the same agency that implements SNAP, these two benefits are different and they are separate programs. So P-EBT is not a part of SNAP. This benefit was also meant to be used in combination with what families might be receiving from other sources. So those sources might be grab-and-go school meals, the food assistance program, such as SNAP, or other nutrition resources that they might be getting from food banks or food pantries. Altogether, these resources combined are meant to help families meet their nutrition needs during the coronavirus pandemic. And as Carla also said, this benefit is being offered in partnership between the Colorado Department of Human Services and the Colorado Department of Education. Let's now move on to eligibility. So who is eligible for P-EBT? There are essentially two umbrellas or two different buckets of eligibility. One, that students must receive free and reduced price school meals, or two, that they attend a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program that we'll refer to as NSLP. And P-EBT is offered regardless of immigration status. So we also know that during the COVID pandemic, many families might also have become newly qualified for free and reduced price meals due to income loss or job loss that was experienced during COVID. So students who receive or are eligible to receive free and reduced price meals and attend a school that participates in NSLP are eligible for this benefit. And we're very happy to promote that this includes all kids in grades pre-K through 12, as long as those two criteria are met. Additionally, any student who is attending a Community Eligibility Provision, CEP, or Provision 2 site is eligible for P-EBT. And then families who have kiddos who are eligible who are also participating in SNAP during the months of March, April, and May are also automatically eligible for P-EBT as well. So P-EBT is based on the free and reduced price meal income guideline eligibility rules, and that is currently at 185% of the federal poverty level. And here's a chart that gives it in a little bit more specific of a way. These are the free and reduced price lunch income eligibility guidelines for the last school year, so ending on June 30th, 2020. We do want you to all know that the new guidelines that have been released for 21 are not the ones we will be using for P-EBT. So the guidelines that you see up here on the screen are the ones we will be using to determine eligibility if a family has become newly qualified for the program. As far as numbers go, we have kind of two different buckets. We have the number of SNAP households that we believe will receive P-EBT and the number of non-SNAP households. And I'll explain here in a bit as to why that discrepancy or that difference exists. We believe about 120,000 households that receive SNAP currently are also eligible for P-EBT, and about 64,000 non-SNAP households will receive P-EBT. And so that's a little under 400,000 Colorado children who are eligible to receive this benefit across our state, and we are so thrilled to be able to offer that. So let's talk a little bit about how they're going to actually get their benefit when the time comes. There's a couple different approaches to this, and that's what I was referencing about the SNAP and non-SNAP households. So I'm going to start with the SNAP families. So any family who is receiving SNAP benefits during the months of March, April, and May, when the coronavirus pandemic was starting, they have no action. Their benefit is going to be automatically issued onto their current EBT card. And the picture on the right-hand side of the screen is a picture of that current EBT card. So the benefits are going to be automatically issued to those families because they're known and exist with us and currently have a card. So we were able to make this very simple for families who are currently in our system to be able to get their benefits. So they'll get all their benefits for all eligible kiddos in their household on that active EBT card. And what's really exciting is it's just one card per household. So even if you have multiple kiddos in your home, all the benefits will go onto your one card. We'll be communicating with our SNAP families through a letter that will be mailed or emailed, depending on the family's mailing preferences for SNAP. And we, again, expect that benefit to be issued in mid-July. So for families who are not participating in SNAP, there is a different step that we will need those families to take. They will have to complete a P-EBT application because they are not known to our system. So in order to ensure that we protect identity and ensure that the benefit goes to those who it's intended for, families must have a state-issued ID number. Sometimes that will be referred to as a SACID, and that number will come from an NSLP participating school, their NSLP participating school. The application will be made available beginning mid to late July, and we expect those who have never had an EBT card to actually get one in the mail from us once they are determined as eligible. So the picture that you see there on the left-hand side of the screen, with the one with the apple on it, that's the actual card that they will receive in the mail. There might be a slight delay in getting the card shipped to them once they've been determined eligible for the program. And we expect about 12 to 24 days for that delivery time. Our processor is processing cards for multiple states across our country right now, and we do expect that delay to exist. We also see our community partners as playing a really important role in helping to educate our families on this delivery time, so they know that their card is coming, but that it is possibly going to be 24 days until they receive it. So if families were not participating in SNAP during that time, but they actually had an EBT card from past participation, and when I say past participation, I mean a program like Colorado Works, the TANF program, or adult financial programs, or maybe they participated in SNAP in the past, those families still have to complete an application online, but instead of getting a new EBT card, their benefits are actually going to be automatically issued onto their previous EBT card. And for families who have that card on hand, that's great news because that delivery time that I just spoke about won't exist. They will get it right away and their benefits will get issued directly onto that card. Some families might need a replacement of that card because it's been lost. And if that is the case, we are happy to provide that service to those families. And we just ask that they email our inbox that I have listed right there on the screen, and then we will collect some information from them on who they are, and then we will issue them a brand new card. Similar to our SNAP families, all the benefits for multiple kiddos are going to get loaded onto the same EBT card. We expect the application to be open sometime in mid to late July for the P-EBT application, and we want to let everyone know that that will actually open after benefits have been already issued to our SNAP participating families. And the reason for that is that they have that we want to ensure that the people who are actually applying for the benefit online have the ability to those families who are applying online are the ones that need to apply online, and the ones who are auto-issued the benefit have already received their benefits. So we're trying to get the families to have a little bit of a balance between those two things. The application will be open for at least 6 weeks, but we do expect an extension to happen. So up to 9 weeks is what we're thinking, so up into September. And then the application can also be found once it's posted onto our website, which is listed right there on the screen. And I'm very sorry for the red lines that are on the screen. I'm not really sure what to do about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, let's go over what we expect, what we were just talking about. I'm trying to clear off the screen a little bit, so give me 1 second to see if I can do this. I've never used the eraser. Oh, here we go. Yay, Mia's doing it. Thank you. Okay, sorry to get a little distracted. I was trying to not to ignore it, and then, okay, we're back on. I'm back on. Okay. So let's go over it because that was a lot of information. I also got a little distracted, and I want to make sure everyone feels like they have exactly what they need. So we've got the 2 different buckets, and I'm going to start with the gold bucket. We have the families who are on SNAP during the months of March, April, and May, and no action is required for those families. Those benefits are going to be automatically issued onto their existing EBT card for all kiddos in that household. If a family was not on SNAP during the months of March, April, and/or May, there are 2 action steps that are required. 1, the school district or the school has to provide that family with that state-issued ID number, which is sometimes referred to as a SACID. And if a family already has that ID number, then they don't have to contact the school because they already have it in hand. And in many cases, schools and school districts are already giving this ID number out, so families should be already receiving this information. Once the application launches, they are going to be able to apply for P-EBT on our application website, and they will provide all of the required information, including that critical ID number that we talked about. Once they are determined as eligible, families will either be issued a new EBT card, similar to the one that you see there on the screen, or they're going to have their benefit loaded onto an existing EBT card. And if the EBT card that they used to have in the past is lost, they're going to have to email our inbox to get a replacement. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about using the benefits. The benefits can be used very similarly to how families might have used SNAP benefits in the past. Once they're issued to a family, they're going to be available on the card for up to 1 year. And we're very excited that here in Colorado, we can now offer online purchasing with the EBT card. So P-EBT card will be exactly the same thing. They can go onto Walmart or Amazon, which are our current 2 vendors, and use the benefit. They can also go into grocery stores or farmers markets. One of the things we are so excited for is that families can extend their P-EBT benefits by doubling up on Double Up Food Bucks. So it's a dollar for dollar match on local fresh fruits and vegetables, and it can be used with P-EBT. So we encourage all the partners on the call to please go to this website to learn more about how to use this benefit to extend P-EBT. So let's go over a little bit about what how much families are going to get. So the benefit itself is equivalent to the cost of a free breakfast and lunch, which is about $5.70 per day, and we expect families to get about $279 per eligible kiddo. That is going to be a one-time payment that is loaded onto their card, and the reason that $279 was calculated is because it reflects the number of days that kiddos would have been in school but were not during the months of March, April, and May due to COVID. So if a family became newly eligible, let's say in April or May, they might get a prorated amount based on their application and when they were determined eligible for the benefit. This benefit, like I've already shared, can be used in conjunction with any emergency feeding grab-and-go site that the family might be participating in, and we are very hopeful that families use it to extend their SNAP dollars or with their P-EBT benefits by using Double Up Food Bucks. Okay, that was a lot of information, and I'm sorry I can't answer questions right now, but Terry Chaston, our SNAP manager, will be available at the end of this call to answer questions that you might have that are related to P-EBT benefits. But what I'm going to do now is walk you through the application. And again, this is in a very good place that we feel comfortable sharing it with the community partners today. But it is also still a little bit of a work in progress, so we have finalized it to a good place that we're open to sharing it, but just know some things might change too. The other piece for this is the reason we're showing it to you today is we really want our community partners to have an idea of what we're going to be asking the community to respond to or apply to for this benefit. So once they click on the link, they're going to be taken to this home page, and the home page is going to give them an idea of what to expect in the coming pages, or what to expect in the actual application itself. So that Apply Now button will be interactive, and it will allow families to actually click it and then enter the application. And our hope is that this home or landing page will give them the opportunity to learn more about the benefit before actually applying. So here's a little bit of information that we'll put right after that screen that you just showed, or that I just showed you. It'll be right below it, and it's going to give the family just a quick idea of what is required for the application. And then the next steps, that we still have to determine you eligible for the benefit and that immigration status is not considered in your eligibility for P-EBT. and it's not part of public charge. And then once you are determined eligible, then what happens? You can either get a card in the mail or you have to use your EBT card that you already have. We will step this through for the family so they kind of have that overview prior to applying. Then they will actually have a flow chart that's right there after that section. And the hope of this flow chart is that it gives some information to families to know before I begin, do I even need to apply, first of all? And then what happens if I don't have all the information I need? So at the top, you'll see, does this student attend a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program? If a family doesn't know, there's a link there that it will take them to find out. So we hope that does help and provide some resources for families who might be navigating the system and trying to figure out if this even works for them and if they're eligible for the benefit. The other piece to this is we're trying to prevent people who were on SNAP from applying for the benefit. So our hope is that if they were receiving SNAP during the months of March, April, and May, that they do not apply and that they actually just are auto-issued the benefit. And that if they have any questions about where to find their SACID or that state-issued ID number, that this flowchart will hopefully give them a little bit of information on how to do that. So we do have a link where we're collecting school contact information on who is going to be housing the SACID information. And we will talk a little bit more about that when we get to the school districts, the roles of schools and school districts. But there will be a link there that will allow families to identify a person within their area. But this is still being worked on and developed as we continue to work with our schools and school districts. So here's page 1 of the actual application. The first page is going to collect information on the head of household. So this is the person who's actually going to have the P-EBT card mailed directly to them. And so we ask their name, their gender, their date of birth. We also ask Social Security number. And I did want to explain that while this is an optional field that we have listed here, it does help the state allow us the opportunity to issue a P-EBT card for that family. So it is optional. The families do not have to fill it in, but it does allow us a more seamless administration of the P-EBT card. The mailing address is collected just so we know where to mail the EBT card, but it is an important piece and we want to make sure people do fill it in accurately so cards are not sent back. Contact information will be the last part of this application page, which won't look like this. It will be a seamless page. I screenshotted it so you could see everything on what page 1 would look like. But we will collect phone number, which will be required. We just want the ability to follow up with our families should we have any questions on their application. And then we ask preferred spoken and written languages. The spoken will give us an opportunity to know whether a language line is requested or required for the family. And the written will give us an idea of whether we send their materials either in English and Spanish to the families when they have submitted their application. Page 2 is where they're going to enter information on the students in each household. And so each student will actually be entered one at a time. So if a family has multiple students in their household, they're going to add one student first, then they're going to hit that button, add another student, and add their second student, and do that until they have all eligible students added. And this information will be very similar, hopefully, to what they've seen in the free and reduced price lunch application. We want their first name, last name, date of birth. We do have a couple questions about foster care or if the student is receiving TANF, and that just helps us to give us an idea of whether we need additional information for the family or whether they can skip a page, and I'll get to that here shortly. We'll ask a little bit of information on what school that the kid attended and if they were already approved for free and reduced price lunch. You can see there that that's where we have that state-issued ID number section, which is sometimes referred to as a SACID. And then there'll be a link at the bottom of this page where they can click again to get their school contact on who to call and where to find who to call and where to find their SACID. The next page, page 3, is the monthly household income page. And this page may be optional depending upon what the families answered in the previous page. But for most families who are applying for this benefit, they are going to go ahead and fill in this information for both household size and household income for March, April, and May. We have linked the income guidelines up here at the top, and that would be the same chart that they had on their, that I showed you on a previous slide. So it will be the income guidelines for the school year, the free and reduced price school lunch guidelines for the previous school year. So that ended in June 30th, 2020. And they can use that as a reference, but we do need their actual income for each of the months. The fourth page is the final page, so it's a 4-page long application. And this is where they're just certifying that the information is accurate and correct to the best of their knowledge. Once families have filled this in and they've hit submit, then they will actually generate a reference number. And we are encouraging families to write down that reference number. And then this is also a place where we are then helping to explain again the two differences between the families who may have had had an EBT card in the past and maybe those that have not. So we will have that important step that's listed right there. So without further ado, we're actually going to now enter into the next part of our presentation where we talk about the roles of our school districts, our counties, our community partners, and our outreach partners as well. And we're going to start by handing it over to the Colorado Department of Education. Rachel will be presenting on the role of schools and school districts.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As Max said, my name is Rachel Burnham. I'm a principal consultant for the Department of Education School Nutrition Unit. And I'm going to be talking about the roles of our schools and districts within this P-EBT implementation process, and also discuss how they're going to be helping with some of the outreach. So the largest roles for our schools and districts are going to be, number one, providing families with that state-issued ID number, or sometimes referred to as a SACID. And then number two, making sure that local level staff that have been designated to handle P-EBT, making sure that those staff know where to direct families for questions, promoting the P-EBT application, providing communications, etc. So let's start with the distribution of those state-issued ID numbers. As Max mentioned, these ID numbers are a required component of the P-EBT application. As she showed you, it's within that student information portion of the application, and it will require a state-issued ID for each student within the household. And these ID numbers will look different whether the student attends a public school or a private school. So all public school students, their state-issued ID will always be 10 digits long, while private school students, their state-issued ID may vary in length based on how their school assigns those IDs. We do know that many of our schools and districts have already provided the IDs directly to their families, or they've provided information on how families can obtain that ID. And they've done this in a variety of ways, which I'll talk about next. So our unit, the school nutrition unit, we did create what we're calling a communications toolkit, which is linked here. And within the toolkit, there's several different templates. So we have a letter to households, there's text message, robocall, email scripts. We also have grab and go meal flyers. And I do want to emphasize that this toolkit and these templates are specific for our school and district use. And they contain language around what P-EBT is, who's eligible, but most importantly, how families can obtain that required student, state-issued student ID. So there are several ways, as I mentioned earlier, that schools and districts are providing that state-issued ID, and it largely depends on the size of the district and also the capacity that their staff has during these summer months. So some creative ways that our districts are providing student IDs are, if they have the capacity, they're providing it directly via letters to households, maybe an email to households with their student state-issued IDs. They've also provided specific instructions on how families can access them within their existing parent portals, creating some type of call-in option. We've even seen some school districts providing information in their local newspaper. So what is P-EBT, who's eligible, and then they also provided a specific district contact to provide more information to interested families. So a variety of ways our districts are getting this information out to families. And like I mentioned earlier, it really depends on the size of the district and their staff capacity. So in talking about these pieces of communication, this kind of leads me into that additional role of our school and districts and the expectation that they're providing information about what P-EBT is and how families can apply. And so within some of those templates that I mentioned, we also included in every single template communication a link to the current CDHS FAQ webpage. To make sure, one, we're providing those up-to-date information to our families, but two, once the application is launched, that our families can still access that application from that link that our school districts are already providing to families. However, once the application is live and ready for use, we will be encouraging schools and districts to make sure they're providing that on district websites, and then as appropriate, of course, sending out, reiterating the application's now live, here's what you'll need, and here's where you can go to apply. So really in general, our office is working really hard with our schools and districts to provide as much information now in order to avoid any future confusion, unnecessary questions once that application is live. And then lastly, I wanted to talk more about that contact resource that Max has mentioned a couple times. We do have a resource that it's actually like a live living document that displays live changes and updates that contains local district context where families can, look at their school district and see who they can directly contact to get student ID information or answer maybe any more specific school or district questions. And we did ask all of our schools and districts that operate NSLP to complete this information, provide that local level contact who's going to be handling P-EBT over the summer months. As Max mentioned, the current form, the current list is not quite complete. We are very close. So if you're a school or district and you haven't completed that form, please do so as soon as possible. The link is there on the slide. Like I said, once you complete that information, that resource will be updated automatically with current information. And so staff designated in that resource, they'll be providing P-EBT communications to families. They'll be helping field questions. And then we're really hoping that those same staff, if they have the time and capacity, can also help families complete the P-EBT application. Every school or district that is currently participating in NSLP, they have staff that have a robust base knowledge about the free and reduced application. And this will be really advantageous for those staff to quickly learn the P-EBT application process. So that said, for our school and district staff, if you're interested in this and you have the capacity, we will be providing additional training opportunities specific to the P-EBT application process at a later date. So stay tuned for that information. But this will be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to duly enroll our families at the start of school year by encouraging them, to not only complete a free and reduced price meals application, but also apply for P-EBT. I think it goes without saying both benefits will be absolutely invaluable to our families. And so I will just end with, we're working really hard to eliminate as many barriers as possible in order for our families to receive these benefits. And our schools and districts, as well as our community partners, Hunger Free, play a huge role in this. So we do just want to take a moment to just say thank you in advance, a million times thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to your students. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Mia Donnelly with CDHS, who is going to talk about the role of our community partners.
All right, thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mia Donnelly, and I'm the SNAP Education Outreach Coordinator here at CDHS. And I'll be talking more about the important roles of our community partners, our outreach partners, and our county offices. So let's start with the roles of our community partners. Our community partners have a key role in educating and engaging the community to ensure that eligible families know what P-EBT benefits are and what steps are needed to receive these benefits. As our community partners are some of our most front-facing roles, we need your help to answer basic questions about the P-EBT benefit and know where to direct families if they need additional help. We'll talk more about resources and partners that can assist you with this in just a few moments. Additionally, we are relying on trusted community partners to increase the comfort of immigrant families to participate in P-EBT. As mentioned earlier, P-EBT is not part of public charge, and this is stated throughout our application FAQ, as you saw with Max with the application, but immigrant families may still feel uncomfortable without trusted partner communication. And lastly, once it is available, we ask our community partners to use the outreach toolkit to promote applying for P-EBT benefits. And we'll discuss this in more in a few moments as well. Next, we'll talk more about the roles of our outreach partners, primarily in application assistance. Our outreach partners, also known as SNAP outreach partners, along with their subrecipients, are contracted with the state directly and able to help families apply for P-EBT online. This means that families are able to receive assistance with the application over the phone as they would if they were to apply for SNAP. We believe this will be really helpful for families who cannot complete the application online or on their own. Now, SNAP outreach partners will not be able to assist with finding that state-issued student ID number, sometimes referred to as a SACID. As Rachel mentioned earlier, the contact information of key school contacts will both be available within the P-EBT application as well as to our partners, so families know who to contact should they have not received that required ID for the application. Also, SNAP outreach partners will follow telephonic signature protocol, and a training specific to our outreach partners will follow. Now, our outreach partners can provide a key service to some of our families, but we do need to use application assistance strategically. Our outreach partners need to be able to serve those who really need their help, and this means that lines just can't get flooded by requests where they can't help, such as providing those ID numbers that we mentioned earlier, or where their assistance does not ease the process. So we are asking that for households who are unable to complete the online application, either due to technology such as like no or low internet connection or language barriers, Mile High United Way and Hunger Free Colorado's hotline may be contacted for assistance. These organizations, again, cannot provide those state-issued ID numbers, and we ask that you please contact these organizations before promoting the service and setting up referrals. So for technology barriers, you can contact Hunger Free Colorado at the email listed here, and for language services, for languages other than English or Spanish, you can contact Mile High United Way at their email as well. So let's talk about the roles of our county offices. Unlike other Colorado benefit programs, county offices will not be administering the P-EBT benefit. However, counties have an important role in encouraging families to apply for P-EBT and answer basic questions about the benefits. They can also help families know how to spend the money or direct families if they need additional help. Counties can also promote P-EBT marketing materials through their media channels, and we'll show you what that looks like in just a few moments. And if families request an EBT card or P-EBT card replacement, as mentioned earlier, they can email our inbox if they need a replacement. But if the county has someone who comes directly to them for help, they are welcome to help them get a P-EBT card or EBT card replacement. Lastly, please keep in mind that P-EBT cards can also have SNAP benefits loaded if that family began participating in SNAP, and families should be reminded of this as well. Now, I know that was a lot of information, so let's review over the major takeaways around P-EBT benefits and families. So if a family receives SNAP in March, April, and/or May, and their kids attend a National School Lunch Program or NSLP participating school, make sure that families know what P-EBT benefits are and why they're getting them, where to get more information about P-EBT benefits, and that they do not need to apply online. Their benefits will be auto-issued onto their existing EBT card. Also note that P-EBT benefits can be used in a similar way to SNAP benefits, but these are two different programs and sets of benefits which both can be accessed through the EBT card. And then if a family did not receive SNAP benefits in March, April, and/or May, but their kids do attend an NSLP participating school, make sure that families know that they do need to apply for the P-EBT benefits online on an application, where to apply online, and how to get more info about those P-EBT benefits, what P-EBT benefits are and why they're getting them. And then they also need to know what items are required to complete that online application. So things like that state-issued student ID, their income for March, April, May, their household size, their kids' birthdays, mailing address so we know where to send that P-EBT card to, and a phone number. And again, P-EBT does not impact immigration status or public charge. And EBT card replacements may need to be requested if a family participated in the past in like our past programs such as Colorado Works, Adult Financial Programs, or SNAP. So now I'm going to turn it over to Anya with Hunger Free Colorado, who's going to give us an overview of the Outreach Toolkit and our marketing materials.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Mia. So I'm just going to go over what some of the outreach and marketing for P-EBT will look like when the program launches and some of the tools we're putting together to help you all participate in awareness efforts. So a marketing firm has actually helped to develop branding for Colorado P-EBT materials and put together a digital ad campaign. And the hope is really to make the program approachable and appealing and recognizable across platforms to help build an understanding of what P-EBT is and to encourage folks to access it. So the branding was tested and informed by community members. So we want to give a huge thank you to our community that helped with that, including SNAP Ed partners. And this slide template that we're using on today's presentation is kind of a sneak peek at what some of that will look like. And there will also be heavy online advertising using these marketing materials that will launch once the application site is available. And those ads will aim to direct families to the application to learn more and to apply. And here's another peek at some of the marketing that was designed with community input. So on the left are some digital banner ads, and then on the right is an example of social media posts that folks could share through something like an Instagram or Facebook story to help direct families to the application. In addition to using that messaging and those designs for digital marketing, we will be publishing an outreach toolkit to help leaders and entities across the state to spread the word about P-EBT. And this is really designed to help share program information once the application is available for families to access and actually apply for the program. So this toolkit isn't posted yet, but it will be as soon as there is somewhere to direct families. We just don't want to be directing folks to a page that isn't there yet. But once the application launches, all of these resources will be posted and available in English and Spanish for anyone to use to help direct families to the website to apply and to help answer basic questions. And the toolkit will include talking points, a short promotional video explaining what P-EBT is and where to apply, some sample language for things like newsletters or website blurbs or emails to send out to community members. There'll be flyers, social media posts, an application guide, so how to fill that out, as well as a condensed presentation that can be used to train other community members or staff on P-EBT. So we'll sort of shrink this down and make it usable for others. Again, these materials will be released once the application is launched, and they'll be posted on CDHS's P-EBT website, which is on the slide. It is Colorado.gov/CDHS/P-EBT. That's also where a lot of frequently asked questions are. And then we will also email them out to all registrants of this webinar when they're ready to use. So you will be notified when those are out. So to quickly recap, P-EBT is such an exciting new program that represents a really huge opportunity to bring needed resources to Colorado families during this pandemic. But it's new, so that means that families are likely to look to trusted leaders and organizations in their communities and to their friends and family and neighbors for information. So we think that we can all play a really important role in spreading the word about this and educating our communities about how to access P-EBT. And our hope is that the outreach toolkit can make that easy for partners across the state. So please do stay tuned for that toolkit as we get closer to the launch date. Also, once the application is launched and ready for marketing, we'll email this group notifying everyone that it's ready and resending these resources. And an additional resource is the P-EBT inbox that the state is managing. It can be used for general and policy related questions and for those who have lost their EBT cards and need to request another once that application is live. But again, CDHS, that's the Department of Human Services, which is managing that, they don't have access to those state issued ID numbers, so they won't be able to assist families with getting those numbers for students. Instead, for help with those state issued ID numbers, you should look for your school district in the contact list provided here and reach out with those requests. And finally, we will also provide more training opportunities once the site launches, and we'll provide more details as they're developed. So thank you all so much for joining us today to learn about what's coming soon with P-EBT. We are now going to move into the Q&A, and Terry Chaston, the SNAP manager with the Department of Human Services, is going to help us respond to your questions. And we've received quite a few already through the Q&A box, well over 100. You can continue to send those in. We're gonna go through and cover as much as we can this afternoon, but know that if we don't get to your question today, we will be putting together a document after this call with additional responses, and we'll share that out with you all after the webinar. So we'll get to as many of these as we can, but if we don't get to your question, fear not, we will be sending more answers after this. So, let's see. So first question we have from someone is, I have students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, but attend a charter that does not offer food during the regular school year. The charter has been participating in a summer meal program. Will the students qualify?
Thank you, Anya. This is Terry Chaston again with CDHS. I'm also going to tag others from CDE, like Rachel, potentially to help you with answering this question. If the school was not participating in the National School Lunch Program for the months of March, April, or May, that family would not be eligible. That's one of there's two main requirements. One is that the school participate in the NSLP program, and secondly, that the family is was or can be determined eligible for free or reduced lunch.
Thank you. And then we have quite a few questions about the state assigned student ID number. So I'm going to sort of lump a couple of them together. So we have, should families contact their children's school directly to receive the SACID ID? And is the SACID the student's district number, or is it a family number? Rachel, can you clarify that a little bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, if you have not already received your state issued ID directly, please do reach out to your school district or your school to receive that information. It is different than the district ID. So as I stated, it is going to look different for public school students versus private school. The public school state-issued ID for students is 10 digits long. In a private school, it's going to vary based on how they prescribe those locally.
Thank you. We also have a question, where will families apply for a card if they don't have internet access? And I can actually answer this one because Hunger Free Colorado will be helping with that. So if you are concerned about lots of families, say in your school district, having issues with internet access, we would encourage you to reach out to our inbox to set up a system for referring to us, and we'll be able to help those folks apply over the phone. So again, that email is P-EBT@hungerfreecolorado.org, and that'll get sent out after this call as well. And then we have a question, would Provision 2 school students automatically receive benefits from March if they qualify? I think, Rachel, that's probably a good one for you.
Sure, yeah. So any school site that is participating in the community eligibility provision, or sometimes referred to as CEP, or Provision 2, every child within that school would be eligible to receive pandemic EBT, whether they were actually eligible for free and reduced price meals or not.
Thank you. And it's just that if folks are in those schools but not receiving SNAP, they will have to fill out the application. And then we have a question, how will families that might have a child on their EBT card that is documented add an additional child that might not be documented? I'm not sure if this is referring to immigration or someone who's part of a SNAP case already, but Terry, do you think you could take that one?
Sure. I think I understand the question. Some households may have children that are eligible for SNAP because of their citizenship status, and they may have some children who are not eligible if they do not have a citizenship status or a legal immigration status. Those families in that situation, they would go to the P-EBT application to apply for that child who's not receiving SNAP. So it is possible that there could be a combination of children who get P-EBT through the SNAP benefit, and then there are some that could get it through the P-EBT application process.
Thank you. We have another question. Are there informational flyers in multiple languages to hand out to families? Right now, we only have materials in English and Spanish, but if there are additional interpretation needs, translation needs that we can work with partners to get met, we'd love to hear about that. So you can reach out again to the P-EBT inbox for Hunger Free Colorado, and we can work with folks on that when that outreach toolkit comes out. Then we have a few questions sort of in this vein of how the validation will work. So one of them is, how will you know just by the state issued student ID number if the student is free or reduced lunch eligible?
Thank you, Anya. I can handle this question. So the CDHS and CDE, we have worked together to obtain verification or a list of eligible students from the Department of Education. This is why the the student ID is important. We were able to tie the student ID to whether, and then CDE was able to provide information on whether or not that child was eligible based on the records that existed at the schools. So we're using information provided from the districts to CDE.
Thank you. And then this might be a question for both Terry and Rachel. The question is, if we work with families who are McKinney-Vento homeless, can we use our office or a school as the mailing address?
Yeah, this is Terry. I answered this. There's a similar question that I answered. It's up to the family to decide where they would like to have their P-EBT card delivered, but usually there can often be a problem with the card being delivered to an address that that person's not normally at. So it really is up to the family, but Vern, if you're on, I don't know if there's any additional requirements from the EBT card itself that we would have to be aware of.
Sorry, can you say, sorry, I was typing. Can you repeat that? Sorry, Terry.
If the family wants to receive their EBT card at a school, would that card be able to be delivered to the school, or would there be an issue with the mailing?
No, there shouldn't be. We're just very cautious about where cards are being sent. So because with the card is the instructions on how to use the card. So I think individuals just have to be really careful. If we've got a situation of homelessness and stuff, but we just have to be very careful, because if benefits are taken, we can't replace them. So if it gets into the wrong hands and the benefits get spent, then the benefits are gone.
So the short answer then would be yes, it's possible, but we'd want to make sure that the family agrees that that is what they want it, and that there's an easy way for them to pick it up from the school.
Thank you. Another eligibility question. Since this is for pre-K through 12th, does this include 12th graders who are retained as part of the special education program or ASCENT?
Yes, it can go for students that are beyond the age of 18 if they were still in an NSLP participating school for the months of March, April, and/or May.
Thank you. I'm also seeing lots of questions about the webpage, and I think we've probably answered some of these, but I do just want to let everyone know that the application page is not yet available, but will be sent out to this group and will be posted on the Department of Human Services website, which is Colorado.gov/cdhs/P-EBT. And again, that'll be sent out after. And then we also have a few questions about CEP districts and children attending those schools, what they should put on the application. So one of the questions we got is, what about CEP districts? There's nothing on the application about this. And what would someone in a CEP or Provision 2 school say for that question in the application of, did you receive free or reduced price meals?
They should indicate, yes, that they received free or reduced price meals. We hope that we would be able to automatically match them through their student ID. If the application does not automatically match them, they can submit their income information. If they are then denied for some reason and they feel like they should have been determined eligible, they can reach out to our P-EBT mailbox, but they should be in our match. They just need to indicate that they were receiving free or reduced lunch.
Thank you. We have another question. Will double up food bucks be referenced on the grab and go flyers for schools? And I'll pass that to Rachel in a second, but I will let you know that the outreach toolkit will include a flyer that mentions double up food bucks, excuse me.
Sure. Our templates for those grab and go flyers, and in fact, I would say it's true for all the templates in our school and district communication toolkit, do not reference double up school bucks. But as I mentioned prior, it does contain the link to the CDHS frequently asked question webpage where they can find that double up buck information.
Thank you. And then Rachel, I think this is another one for you. We have a question about if the state issued student ID numbers will be available on Infinite Campus.
That is going to be a local level discretion. So again, if your school or district has the capacity to make that available within existing parent portals, that's a great option to have that accessible to your families, but it will be local level discretion. I believe Infinite Campus in general does have the capacity to do that as a software though.
Great, thank you. So we have another question about eligibility for Terry. So what if a household does not have SNAP and wasn't attending a national school lunch program site, but their family did lose a job or lost income in the last 3 months? Could they be eligible?
Thank you, Anya. No, there are again 2 main requirements in order to be eligible for P-EBT. The first one is that they must have been attending a school that was participating in the National School Lunch Program. And secondly, they would have either been already receiving free or reduced lunch during March, April, or May, or we could now determine them income eligible for March, April, and May. So if they went to a school that was not an NSLP school, they would not be eligible. And that applies whether or not they're a SNAP household or not. So it's not all SNAP households with children, it's SNAP households with children who were in an NSLP school.
Thank you so much. And I realize we are over time. We're past the hour, so understand that folks may need to hop off now. However, we still have quite a few questions coming in, so we'll stay on for just another few minutes and try to continue answering some of those. But for those that need to go, thank you so much for being on the call and for your engagement with this new program, and we will be in touch. There'll be a follow-up email sent out to all registrants later this week, so keep an eye out for that. And then we'll get back to some more of these questions. We have some questions that are specific to outreach partners. So this one might be for Terry or Max. Let's see, there are a few, but one asking if some SNAP-Ps or outreach partners who do SNAP application assistance and telephonic signature, will they be able to help with applications? And will there be training specific for those partners to do P-EBT?
So this is Terry, and the short answer is yes and yes. We'll be having a specific training for our contracted SNAP outreach partners. And because we already have a process for telephonic signature with these partners, we will be working with them on a process for telephonic signature for P-EBT.
Thank you. Another eligibility question. This question was asked in Spanish. So for children that were not born in the US, or for children or parents who are undocumented, can they participate in P-EBT?
Thank you, Anya. Yes. For P-EBT, we are matching the eligibility guidelines for the free and reduced lunch program, which does not have the same requirements that SNAP does. So it is possible that a family who would not be eligible for SNAP because of their status could be eligible for P-EBT.
Thank you. Another question, is there any reason or circumstance why a family would have to pay back some or all of a P-EBT benefit that they were awarded?
I'll go ahead and take that question. This is Carla. That is actually at this time not something that we have an answer to, unfortunately. It is an outstanding question that we have out to the Food and Nutrition Services with the USDA. Unfortunately, that there is no guarantee at this time that if there was a misissuance that anything would have to be paid back. I would anticipate that if the error was on the side of the state, that we would obviously take that hit. But unfortunately, I cannot give any additional information at this time.
Thank you. And then we have a question about how the EBT issuance will work. So if a family has SNAP and gets the automatic P-EBT added to their SNAP account, are the P-EBT and SNAP benefits tracked separately because P-EBT just lasts 1 year?
So Terry, I don't know if you want me to take this. They are tracked separately, but again, SNAP benefits as well are expunged. So benefits that aren't used. But yes, the P-EBT benefits are set first to spend. So yes.
Okay,
So the client doesn't have to do anything. They're automatically set that way through our processor.
great. Then we have a question about marketing. Where would folks find those marketing images? Because the banners might be useful for some other food assistance marketing. So those materials for marketing and outreach, they will be shared and posted as soon as the application site goes live. So we're not posting any of this yet because we don't want to be directing folks to a P-EBT website that isn't there to apply, but we'll share out that outreach toolkit, which will include all those materials as soon as there's an application. Another question. So households will automatically think that if they qualify for P-EBT that they will not need to complete a free and reduced price application in their district for the 2020-2021 school district. Will there be any verbiage on the P-EBT application explaining that this will not automatically qualify for free or reduced?
Thank you, Anya. This is Terry. That is correct. They would have to apply separately. And we can certainly make sure that that information is contained either in our Q&A or on the application itself.
Thank you. We have a question on EBT cards. This might be for Vern. Does the office need to be notified of lost EBT cards before or after an application is submitted?
I would wait until after the application's been submitted. I think that's just going to make it easier.
All right, I'm looking through a few more. This one I think we've gotten a few times and has been answered, but we'll ask out loud again. Is the $279 per month or for 3 months per child? Or is it just a one-time payment of $279?
Thank you, Anya. It is a one-time payment of $279 if the child was eligible for all 3 months. So that total of $279 is for March, April, and May. If the family is only eligible for 1 or 2 of the months, then they would be prorated to a lesser amount based off of the months they're actually eligible for.
Thank you. And then I think we have time for one more question. Is it possible this benefit has already been loaded onto the cards of those who are already receiving SNAP benefits? I know some people have received an increased payment on their card already. Is this the P-EBT benefit or just an increase in SNAP benefits due to COVID in general? It's a great question for Terry probably.
That is a great question. And that increased benefit is because of COVID-19. It is not related to P-EBT specifically. So that additional money is an emergency allotment that Colorado was approved for by the Food and Nutrition Service. It allowed us to issue additional SNAP benefits to households that were not already at the max benefit amount. So some households did get an increase. And it will continue for July, but it is separate from P-EBT.
Thank you so much. So it is now 4:10 and we're going to have to wrap up. If we did not get to your question today, we will include a response in a Q&A document that will be sent out in the follow-up email for this webinar. Thank you so much to the Department of Human Services and the Department of Education for presenting today and for working really tirelessly to lift up this new huge program for our state. And thank you to everyone for joining us, for taking precious time out of your days to learn about P-EBT and for asking excellent questions. We will be in touch and we wish everyone a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you.